Morning, guys. This is Allison with Feral Rose Farms, and welcome back to the channel. As you can probably tell, it is the morning. And yeah, garden manicure, everybody. Oh my God, it's impossible. Not that I care too much, definitely not one of those people, but it is impossible to get the dirt out from under your nails every day. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and say, hey, and that we are gonna have such a good day ahead of us. It is Monday, Memorial Day weekend, May 2025, if anyone watching this in the future. And I am drinking my matcha out of one of my favorite mushroom mugs. I have multiple mushroom mugs, of course. And oh my gosh, for some wonderful reason, my daughter is actually sleeping in a little bit. I mean, she could wake up any moment, and I'm listening for her. And so my husband and I were able to make our matchas early and fry up some of my friends' eggs and just talk for a few minutes and enjoy the day. And I started writing down a few video ideas, basically just a lot of the things that we are going to be tackling in the garden today and this week. It has finally, for those of you who are patiently waiting in this hemisphere, are patiently waiting your last frost date, or you've already had your last frost date. For those watching for the first time, we are in zone 4B 5A. We're right near Lake Superior, and so what that means for us, and I learned this the very first time we moved here, because I didn't know about this, but we get what is fondly referred to as lake effect snow. So because of the size of Lake Superior, because it is so ginormous, and as far as I know, it is the largest body of fresh water on the planet, and it is very, very deep. It even stays pretty cold even in the summer months, but because of our proximity to it, our close proximity, and because of the size of it, it actually affects our weather. And so we can, during the winter months, we can get a lot of snow. And then we can also stay a little warmer during the summer, during the spring and summer months, because of the heat coming off the lake and releasing that. So we can just get some really cool weather effects. And so that's why I say 4B 5A for us, because it kind of can just be whatever it is. I know whenever, and I've mentioned this in other videos, and I'm sure anyone who's in a cold hardy zone knows this, but when you are, searching for those, especially like perennial edible plants, like we are establishing here for the first time. This is our, oh, honey, come here. Sorry, our dog is whining. But for those watching for the first time, again, long story short, this is our second garden, but our first one here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We moved into this house in September, so we haven't been here even a full year. We were renting a little bit before that just to make sure that we loved the area, which we knew like pretty much day one, day two of moving here that we loved it. And we've met so many friends. We conceived and had our daughter here. It was just, yeah, anyway, I could talk about that for hours. But yeah, the magic of finding a beautiful community. But I say all that, so the reason I explained all that really fast, sorry, I just had to let my dog out, is that we have been very closely following the weather, and it looked like, and it continues to look like, we are not going to get below freezing. Now, everyone has told me in this area that you don't want to plant really before June 1st. That's kind of the date where it's like, we can still get like a frost in the very beginning of June. It's not unheard of. But like I said, we have been watching the weather, as I'm sure a lot of you do. Or if this is your first time gardening, maybe you don't know. But all of us have our first and last frost date, right? And that tells you kind of your frost-free days, the length of your, the growing season in which you can grow like your warm weather crops. Because it is possible, even at the end of your growing season in a lot of areas to grow cold hardy crops. So I say the growing season, but really it's, your tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, basils, your warm weather crops, right? The crops that can't can't handle a frost or too much of a frost. But anyway, a lot of little tidbits in this video. But anyway, so, okay, I don't think that was my daughter. But anyway, so we've been watching the weather and we didn't see any. Everything was above 40. It was pretty much. So it was very exciting, the fact that we could take advantage of these warm days, take advantage of the 3-day weekend. And my husband was able to, you know, go for a walk with my daughter, put her in the Osprey Poco backpack, which I talk so fondly of in a lot of my videos. It's how we get a lot done with our toddler. But he put her in the backpack, and I was able to just go crazy and plant pretty much everything. But the beauty of this was that I definitely underestimated how much space we had, because I kind of mentioned this before, but I've never done a raised bed garden before. In our Tennessee garden, all we used were wood chips. And then we grew everything from seed. So we did invest in seed starting stuff at the very beginning, but we just kind of went crazy with it to save as much money as possible. Because if you do know, and if you do buy plant starts and you do sort of like keep going with the gardening thing every year and like homesteading, what have you, and you want to grow like a substantial amount of food, or you do have a big family, or you do want to feed your friends in your community, you know, it can really rack up. Like it can really, you know, if you're only buying plant starts, you know, it can be a lot. And so can seeds to a degree, but you know, that could be another video where I talk about like the benefits of plant starts and the benefits of seed starting, which, you know, they have negative and I guess negative struggles and benefits to all of them, right? But we prefer seed starting just because I love seed collecting. And also, you know, we are primarily at home. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband works 2 remote jobs. And so I am able to care for these started plants fairly easily, even with the toddler running around. But so anyway, I say all that because we were like, oh my gosh, we got these plants in the ground early. Awesome. And we had kind of a frost warning. It was only getting down to 39. But again, what I mentioned, because we are close to the lake, there is this sort of like, okay, it says 39 and yeah, there was a frost warning. So we had to go ahead and run to the big box store and get 5 frost blankets. Now, thank goodness we are going to use them in the future. So it was a worthwhile investment. They were only 13, I think it was $12.99 each, which is still like more than we wanted to pay. But again, we will use them. A lot of our gardening stuff that we have gotten are things that will last us for years, are things that we're going to use again. And so we did have to go and, you know, and it's like, okay, the fact that we planted early before our last frost date, and that's kind of the point of this video, is like, if you're going to take advantage of some warm weather, and even if you're being cautious, even if you're being careful, you have to be set up or prepared to either really cover all of your plants, the ones that will be killed in a frost, like your tomatoes and peppers, like the ones I planted, or, you know, you take those plants out, or you know, things to cover them. And I'll show you guys what we actually used to keep those plants safe. Like I mentioned, we did get the 5 frost-free blankets, and they were so long. I might have one of the boxes still saved, so I can show you guys after this. But they were so long that my husband was able to run one the length of a raised bed, and then turn it and do like a U and keep using the same cloth over the next bed. You know what I mean? Like basically just like this U shape. And it was wonderful. And then we had we moved all of our gardening equipment from Tennessee to here too. It was a lot, and it was so worth it though. It was so worth it. But we kept like multiple bags of huge binder clips, which we used to clip. When we were in Tennessee, we used like bug fabric, very similar to frost fabric as well, but it's just to keep out cabbage moths, because we had them just ripping apart everything. Thank goodness I planted a lot of trap crops, which was amaranth was a great trap crop for us in Tennessee. I don't know if it's going to be a good trap crop here, but I'm definitely going to try. But we saved those binder clips and that we used to clip, because we had a bent PVC pipe in the ground over our in-ground beds, and we would clip the fabric over it in order to not get the cabbage moths into our beds. But we used those to clip the frost fabric onto the raised bed, and it worked perfectly. Now, there were a few, extra sensitive plants like your nasturtium, which has already gotten a little damaged from one kind of cold night where I accidentally left them out. And so what we did, again, and I'll show you what we used, but we just used like upturned boxes, like little boxes. We did upturned planter pots. Now they have holes in the bottom, so I actually layered a few so that there wouldn't be a hole. But I put the pots over the plant and then put the frost free fabric over it. So it worked out beautifully. Now, I don't believe we actually got a frost, but again, it was 39. These were sensitive plants anyway. They have kind of had a struggle. For anyone who is here, probably in the Midwest, everyone has been talking about how this May, hi babe, this May has been especially cold for the Midwest, because here I am, we've only lived here a couple years. My husband is from Wisconsin, but I've only been up here a few years, and was like, oh my gosh, it's kind of a shock coming from like the hot and humid South. And so when being up here, I was like, okay, like this is a cold May. That's good to know, but it's a great lesson, right? And the fact that we can, my cat Leaf is meowing in the background, but it's a great lesson in realizing that's like, okay, if you want to take advantage of a situation like warm weather, like a long weekend, because we all have busy schedules, we have, family and friends and events and jobs and kids and what have you, and vacations and all this stuff. If you're trying to take advantage of a certain, certain time, that it's okay to pivot. It's also okay to take risks and then know how you're going to fix a problem if that problem arises. And maybe the problem won't arise, but I guess I just wanted to say this to like give anyone encouragement, especially if you haven't had your last frost date yet. But you do run the risk of, losing your investment, whether that be plant starts, or if you're like us and planted, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seeds, probably thousands of seeds, and have, few hundred plants. We've definitely in one of our craziest days, probably it was like 2020, maybe 21. We had, oh my gosh, like a few hundred tomato plants, which was so much fun. It was great. I was actually working as a baker then. And so I would get out of work at like 11 a.m. And so I'd have, even though I was exhausted from working, it was still like have the day to garden. So it was like, this is good for a younger person, so it really worked out. But anyway, I can show you guys some clips again of what we used, especially if you have, some days still left in your growing zone. But, like I said, there's always pros and cons to taking that risk. Thankfully, and we're still watching the weather closely. Like I said, we still have a little bit of time, but we're still watching the weather closely just in case. But it looks like for us, it's just going up, 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 which is really wonderful. Like we're able to get out some of our patio furniture. My husband is putting together some of the chairs. We're trying to tidy up some stuff. I'm just trying to think of other little garden chores. I'm sure that you guys are doing right now too. We have some very adorable garden rabbits and squirrels and chipmunks that I've mentioned before, but a lot of our neighbors garden organically as well, thankfully, which is so wonderful. And they have little habitats for their creatures, and everyone here, I'm just so thankful. Everyone around us is very eco-friendly. We actually have something I definitely want to talk about, our pollinator garden, which is like native plant pollinator garden that we are making. And then I also was doing some research from it's the National Wildlife Federation. So we had our old property, approved of as one of the like pollinator sites, a wildlife refuge, if you will. And we are in the midst of doing all of the things to get this property that way. We do probably have to order a few more native plants, and that's just for my own, that is just for my own kind of idiosyncrasy. What is that word? I think just for my own peace of mind, because we have so many wonderful natives in the yard. Oh my goodness. We have yarrow and like the dandelion, like, no, excuse me, I don't mean like just natives, but like very healthy, hardy weeds that are coming up. And we have very few dangerous invasives, should I say, that are not good for the pollinators, or that are not suitable, or that can really overrun everything and potentially overrun some of the native plants that will be more beneficial to the pollinators. That's what I should say. And we did get those plants from, I believe the company is UP Native Plants. They are hopping up on a lot of the local farmers markets right now as the farmers markets open with the nice weather. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a rundown over what's kind of been happening at the garden right now, where we're at, and kind of give you an update. And yeah, I will definitely show you, hopefully in the next clip. Let me finish my matcha and go check on my daughter, and show you guys what we used for that 39 degree. Again, like, we didn't get a frost, but my wonderful neighbor also told us, like, sometimes, because like, it can be like different right up on the hill, like we're right by a park too. It's like, it can just be you just don't know, right? You just don't know. And if you live in an area where like there's little dips, like, I mean, your personal ecosystem, right? Like your personal grow zone, like in one yard, can be totally different than your neighbors. The microclimates that are coming off your house, the microclimates because of certain trees and bushes, water sources, like I mentioned, there's just so many different factors. And so I think that is, it's just so important. Like I said, like, this is our first year in this house. We are learning. And so if this is your first year gardening too, even though we have some years of gardening at a different site, so like, yeah, we have some knowledge we can like bring over to this site. It's still, we're learning this site, and we're going to continue to learn this site, forever. I mean, we love our home. I don't plan on ever leaving this home. Absolutely love it. Love our neighbors, love our neighborhood, love our town. But we're going to be continuously learning, right? And every season is different. You don't know what's going to come up in the outside or in your life and what have you. And so gardening in general, I guess the matcha's hitting, guys. Gardening in general, and just kind of, and I say this to myself as well, especially with a lot of stress going on in our lives, which, I mean, who isn't stressed out right now? But, just remembering that letting the garden heal you, having fun in the garden, and, maybe try not, and I say this to myself, I promise, try not to take it too seriously. Like I said, I mean, when we had that day or the night of like, okay, 39 degrees, we had just finished planting the warm weather crops because the weather said it was going to be fine. And then our neighbor told us that there was going to be a frost warning. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. And, you get mad for about 30 seconds and then you're like, okay, got to make a plan, and that's all like gardening is. It's just like, okay, well, like I said, talking to my neighbor about the rabbits and everything. And she was like, okay, what are we going to do? I was like, okay, you just pivot, right? It's never going to be perfect. And maybe that's the life lesson too, and again, I say that to myself after kind of a stressful weekend, and like, that's okay, right? That's life. And you figure out a plan and you pivot, maybe eat some dark chocolate, maybe drink a matcha, maybe go buy yourself a coffee too. Get a hug from someone you love, and we just keep going. So yeah, I didn't know this was going to turn into like a matcha. I know like coffee rants are a big thing, but like matcha rant, I've only had like 4 sips too. But okay, let me show you guys that those supplies that we used, and then I'll shush now and let you guys get on for your day. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm gonna do my send off though, and then I'll show you those clips in the clip. But yes, thank you for being here. This is Allison with Feral Roots Farm. I hope you have a wonderful day or evening, wherever you are, however you are. Bye guys.
Okay guys.
guys, here is the frost fabric that we used. We bunched it up. I've been letting it dry. It's a little moist right now. I'm gonna let the sun dry it before we pack it up because I don't think we'll be needing it. Give you a quick look at the garden right now. Oh, so beautiful. Beautiful morning. Oh, I just love my daughter's little wheelbarrow. But like I said, we use these, and just my husband was able to run only one all the way down here, and it covered the whole length of this. And then he had another one that snaked around these long too, and we just clipped the binder clips onto the edge here at all the edges, and it worked perfectly. And then for some of the more sensitive plants, we just upturned the buckets and then put the frost fabric on top, and it worked great. Like I said, we used, you know, like these buckets, this upturned, those black ones there, and just, you know, upturned a few of them, and it worked beautifully. So yeah, I hope that that helps anyone if you have maybe a frost coming, or, you know, even just like a snap of cold weather and you don't want your plants to have that other, you know, some more suffering because it's already, you know, it's already a shock to them to be transplanted from a pot into the soil. So, you know, giving them less stress is always a good thing. Okay, guys. Well, I will see you in the next video. I hope everyone has a beautiful day. Bye.